Why don't you tell us all about GreedLight Mobility? First off, what is the company? What do you guys do?
What we do is home modifications for people with mobility challenges. So people who want to remain living in the homes that they love and they've had some type of medical crisis or episode that now their functional abilities are impaired and they no longer can get in and out of their house, up and down their stairs, in and out of their bed. And we solve that problem. We provide solutions for them.
Wow. Okay. Now you and your husband, Greg, started this, right? Way back in 2007, was it?
Right. We're both therapists. I'm a physical therapist. He's an occupational therapist. And we were working in the traditional outpatient clinic setting, and a case manager came in and she was really distressed. And Greg went up to her and said, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "I have this patient and this carpenter did try to provide the solution and it's just not working for him." Greg said, "I'll go take a look at it." And he went and looked at it and figured out what the problem was, and he was able to solve it. And he came home and he said, "Karen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start a company that does home modifications to provide those solutions for people. Having our background is going to help all these people be able to remain in their homes." So we started a New Jersey-based company called
Okay.
Home Safely. It operates under a different name than GreedLight Mobility. And we go into homes. We actually go into homes for free and assess them for any safety or accessibility needs. We look at, we not only look at the layout of the house, but the functional impairments of the patient. We look at the medical condition. We look at, is this a progressive disease where it's going to get worse, or is this an orthopedic problem where they're going to get better? And the conversations and the solutions are quite different depending on what those problems are. So we use what's called a patient-centered approach with this. And we also look at the goals of the patients as well as the layout of the house. And we make recommendations, and then the families call us in and they say, they look at the estimate and they say, "Okay, I want to do all of this or part of this." And we have carpenters and technicians on our staff that actually go out and do the modifications. So we can't just call ABC Construction Company because there's a lot of people who are in hospitals and the discharges are really fast these days. And in the olden days, the patients would go from the hospitals into subacute facilities or inpatient rehabs and then go home. So there was plenty of time to identify these needs. And the patients were also getting better during this period of time. But now they're going straight home in a much more vulnerable state. So it's a problem. So we have to have our own staff of technicians and carpenters who are trained and certified to install this equipment. And we have to keep lots of inventory of this equipment, because if we don't, then it would take too much time to order this equipment and the discharges wouldn't take place as quickly as they need to.
Sure. What are some of the most popular modifications that you see that you guys are doing again and again and again?
Our stair lifts, ramps, and grab bars are the most items that we provide. We also provide ceiling lift systems for people who cannot transfer at all. We provide higher end hospital beds that have the features of the hospital beds, so that they look much more like a home style bed, and they come in wider sizes. So if two spouses want to still sleep together, they can sell lift chair recliners. And we do a lot of accessible bathrooms as well, where we take out tubs and stall showers and put in barrier-free showers. So those are the most of the things that we provide.
Wow. Is any of this Medicare covered, or covered by Medicare or Medicaid?
No, most of what we do, 99.9%, is not covered by Medicare. Medicaid, yes. Medicaid, is state specific. Every state has certain caps on their annual Medicaid benefits, but there's a certain division of Medicaid called MLTSS, and they pay for a lot of the modifications. And they're in New Jersey, at least, they're trying to expand it to the whole Medicaid system. So yes, Medicaid is a big provider of these services, paying funding source for these services, but Medicare not so.
Okay. So, all right. So you and your husband are starting this business back in 2011. Did you both quit your jobs at the same time? Kind of walk me through this journey.
Yeah, it took time. And it's interesting because now when we're looking back at franchising, it's interesting because all the time that it takes to ramp up a business from scratch, our franchisees are being handed all that, which is really awesome because, we had to develop a website. We had to create the brochures. We had to figure out campaigns to, make relationships with referral sources. We had to figure all this out. And it's been so fun to be able to give them all that in a blink of an eye. So that's really awesome. But Greg went in full time to start, and I was doing some home care, a lot, working almost a full-time job in home care. At that time, we needed to get the health benefits, so we weren't able to yet get the company health benefits.
Sure.
But so that's how we started. And then within 18 months, I came on full-time with the business.
Wow, wonderful. All right. What would you say, Karen? I imagine there's other companies out there. What makes GreedLight Mobility unique to other companies that are out there?
So first of all, there aren't a lot of companies, mobility equipment companies out there. So it's unique. It's a unique space anyway. And with the population aging, there's going to be more and more demand for this types of services. But what's unique with our franchise concept is that we are therapists by trade, and we have that medical background. And there's a lot, as I said before, there's a lot involved in making recommendations, and having that background gives us insight on who our customer is and what modifications need to be done and how to relate with our referral sources. So using that, we can train our franchisees best practices in building this type of business. And it's a beautiful thing because there really is a lot involved with the customer. And then my husband also was construction savvy. It wasn't like he was a builder, but he also had some experience with construction. He was handy, let's say.
Okay.
So that helped a lot when we were creating the business, and him understanding construction, because you are in a way running or operating a construction company. If you went back to our warehouse, like you'd see this big warehouse with lots of tools, and we have vans with lots of tools. My husband loves to buy vans. We have about 15 of them.
That's his hobby, is buying vans.
That's come down in price a little bit because they were like a little crazy there. But yeah, so I think that medical background really makes a big difference with our franchise system versus other ones in our space.
Okay. Now, if I was going to become a franchisee, do I need a certain certification, or can I be somebody who I love this idea as a business and then hiring?
Yeah, you do not need to have any special certification. There are some designations, one's through the American Home Builders Association, called PAPS. It's called Certified Aging in Place Specialist.
Okay.
That gives you a designation and some knowledge about home accessibility and running a home accessibility business. There's another one through the University of Southern California called ECHM. It's the Executive Certificate on Home Modifications. And there's a couple others as well. So I would recommend any franchisee who's coming on board, whether or not they have any license in healthcare or not, to take one of these programs to have a little more education on home accessibility. But to be quite honest, our training program it's a pretty intense, the amount of information we give, and we really train them so that they're able to own and operate this type of business. So, and yes, we would probably, if they did not have any of that healthcare professional background, we would probably encourage them to hire therapists to help assist with their business model.
Okay. What does training and support look like?
So we have, again, it's pretty intense. It's 10 days of training. They come in two times they come. It's not all together. And I think it's pretty great with what they come out with, because they're not only getting traditional classroom training where we're sitting there teaching about home modifications, teaching about how to, everything from the accounting to the marketing to the intakes, but they're actually sitting with our staff because we've grown our business. We have 22 employees in our business. we have them all here and that they're able to actually go out with our marketing liaison, our community liaison, and actually do marketing visits with her. They actually go out with her home evaluators and they actually see the home evaluations in person and take part in it and see and ask questions. And they actually, sit with us and we create relationships with all the suppliers. There's a lot of suppliers and there's a lot of suppliers that we work with that might not necessarily assist with having other people become dealers, but because we buy so much from them and we have such a strong relationship with them, most of them have agreed to allow any GreedLight Mobility franchisee to become a dealer, which is so magnificent because it's really, in the stairlift and ramp space, it's not so easy to just call up and say, hey, I want to be a dealer. But they work with our franchisees, which is spectacular. And it really solidifies our relationships with our suppliers.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.